Straight all day.
You are now tuned into the show where you learn the discipline to show up day after day, to do the work, the confidence to put yourself out there boldly and authentically, and the mental toughness to continue showing up, doing the work, putting yourself out there even when the success you've expected to achieve has yet to be achieved. And on top of all this, you get a huge dose of personal initiative. What is that? That's the go-getter energy that moves any one of us, including yourself, to go and make things happen instead of waiting for things to happen. And then we put all this together into a series of frameworks, approaches, insights, strategies, and techniques, all underneath the umbrella of one unifying philosophy that is called work on your game. My name is Dre Baldwin, also known as Dre All Day, and welcome to the show. And today's topic is an idea is not a strategy. An idea is not a strategy. I will get into explaining this in a moment, but before I get started, let me tell everyone I have a daily motivation text message that I send out free of charge every single morning to everyone who's in my text community. This message is guaranteed. Yes, guaranteed to keep you focused, sharp, and on point. If you would like to receive this message, text me at my number right now, which is 305-384-6894. And tomorrow morning when I send out the next daily motivation text, because you're in my text community and for no other reason, I will send you the daily motivation text straight to your phone free of charge. Secondly, workonyourgameuniversity.com is the place where you take the next step with me. That's where you get access to all of my courses, all of my exclusive trainings, my 2 physical mailings that I send out every month, the Bulletproof Bulletin and the Black Book, and where you can be coached directly by me. That's the only place to get coached by me, is to go to workonyourgameuniversity.com. All that said, let's get into the topic. I sent a text message out in January of 2023, and I was asking people, asked a simple question. Do you plan on making more money in 2023 than you made in 2022? And if yes, how much? Now I got a bunch of responses, and 99% of the responses were people saying yes, they did want to make more money. There was one person I remember specifically saying, well, Dre, I'm good with how much I made last year, so I'm good with making that exact same amount this year, but maybe next year I want to make more money. But everybody else said they wanted to make more money. And the amounts that people said they wanted to make in addition to what they had made the previous year, most of the amounts range from double to 10x how much they had made in the previous year. So apparently I have some very ambitious people in my texting community, which is completely fine. All right, your goal is your goal. My follow-up question to people when they responded to that was, all right, what's your plan to actually make that money? And in the responses that I received about people's plans on how they planned on making this double or triple more money, this is where I became very concerned, because many people's version of a plan was simply a handful of random ideas to which there was no structure, no strategy, no rhyme or reason to it. And that's what we're going to address here today. So if you're one of those people who responded to my text and you told me some dollar amount you wanted to make, and then I asked you what is your actual plan for doing it, and for many of you I responded back to you after you told me your quote unquote plan and told you that's not a plan. So I'm going to address all of that here today. Point number one. Topic once again is an idea is not a strategy. First of all, let's get a definition of the word idea. Definition of an idea is a thought or suggestion as to a possible course of action. The verbiage of this is very important. What I saw when people responded to me telling me about their goals for the year was a whole lot of ideas. All right, many people have many ideas. All right, some of them good ideas, some of them not good ideas. But whether the idea is good or not doesn't actually matter. It really doesn't matter if you have a good idea or a bad idea, because these ideas are not strategies. And all I did, and what I noticed was, let me back up. An idea is simply something that you could do. That's all an idea is. Idea is something that you could do. So let's say I wanna be a basketball player. Somebody said, well, Dre, what's your plan on becoming a professional basketball player? And I threw out a whole bunch of things. Well, I'm gonna play in this recreational league, and I'm gonna work on my game every day, and I'm gonna get a membership to Lifetime Fitness, and I'm gonna watch YouTube videos every day, and my brother's girlfriend's cousin knows LeBron James's sister, and I'm gonna work out with him. I'm gonna try to get a workout with him through DMing him and something like that. Those are all ideas. That's not a plan. Okay? An idea, that's not a strategy. All right, those are just random things that I could do. And this is what a lot of people were throwing out to me. Just because you have a good sounding idea, or even a bunch of them, does not mean that any of it is actually going to happen. Question. How many times have you heard somebody tell you about an idea of something they were going to do, but they never actually did it? You probably heard that a whole bunch of times. So how many times have you had an idea of something that you were going to do and you never actually did it? You probably had a whole bunch of them. Why? Because ideas alone don't really do anything. All right? An idea alone is fine. It's cool to have ideas. I'm not telling you not have ideas, but Once you have an idea and you decide that you're going to put it into action, the best thing you can do is come up with a plan or a strategy for actually executing on that idea, because it usually is going to take several steps besides just the idea of doing the thing. Again, so when I ask people, how are you going to make more money? What's your plan for making more money? A lot of people said things like, well, I'm gonna start a business, or I got this side hustle going, or I'm gonna get a raise at work, or I'm applying for other jobs in my industry where I can make more money than I'm making right now. Or people will mention multiple different side hustles that they could possibly be involved in. And I said, well, what's the actual plan? I had to ask the question more than once, because people were throwing these things out as if they were plans, but they're not plans. So this is what really alarmed me, is that a lot of people think they have a plan when they don't have a plan. What they have is an idea. And if you don't know how to make a plan, or you don't understand the difference between an idea and a plan, you're going to think you have one thing when you have another thing. So you, again, it's like somebody think they're driving east when you're actually driving west. It doesn't matter how hard you drive the car. It doesn't matter how hard you press on the gas, how much gas you use. You're going the wrong direction, but you don't even realize it. And this is where people get screwed up. And then they spend all of their time, money, attention, energy, and focus on something, thinking that they're doing one thing, but they're actually doing another thing. Then they don't get the outcome that they want. And then they're wondering, well, and then they say to themselves, well, look, I did everything I was supposed to do. Why did I not achieve my outcome? Well, actually, you didn't do what you were supposed to do. You thought you were doing it, but you weren't doing it. And this is what happens when people have inaccurate formulas as to what is going to produce a result versus what's not going to produce a result. Now, everybody following me so far? Point number 2. Today's topic, once again, is idea is not a strategy. Number 2, definition of strategy: a plan of action or policy designed to achieve a major or overall aim. We talked about strategy in many episodes of this show. Let me give you a few where we talked about this concept, so you can go and check these on your own, at your own convenience. Episode number 2045, why you need to master strategy. Episode 1648, the power of strategy. Episode 1525, long-term strategy, what feels good versus what works. Just start with those 3. A strategy is a set of things that you will actually do sequentially in order to achieve an outcome. 2 words there. Do means action. Sequentially means there's an order, there's a rhyme and a reason to what you're doing and why you're doing it the way that you're doing it. That's what a strategy means. Most people do not know how to craft a strategy. And that's okay if you don't know how to craft a strategy. All you got to do is work with someone who does know how to craft a strategy and just borrow what they know. That's all you got to do. Don't pretend that you know something when you don't know it. I mean, we talked about this in episode number 2434, lazy, stupid, or arrogant. Which one are you? All right, don't pretend that you know what you're talking about when you don't, but all it's going to do is lead you into the wrong direction. Why would you want to do that? Strategies also factor in contingencies and how you can work around any possible forks in the road along the way. That's another value of having a strategy, is that you understand that whatever you've got planned is probably not going to happen exactly as you planned it out to happen. No matter how smart you are, how good you are, how much you believe, it's not usually going to go exactly as you thought it was going to go from the beginning. So a strategy factors in, okay, this might not work, this piece might not work, it might not happen this way or that way or that way. What can I do anyway? A strategy factors all of that into the process. So it's not so much that, again, having ideas alone are a bad thing. You should have ideas. Is that until your ideas get converted into actual strategy and concrete plans, usually nothing happens. Again, people tell me about their ideas all the time. People don't tell me, hey, I executed on all of my ideas. And most of the time people don't do that. They have ideas, and the idea comes and goes, and it just floats by on the ether for the next person to pick it up. Most people's ideas never come to fruition. Your ideas have to get converted into strategy and plans. Now, there are times when you can do things randomly, acting on your ideas in haphazard fashion, and you will achieve an outcome. Maybe if you're just starting out and you have no idea what to do, and you don't have anyone to reference, and you don't have no frame of reference, maybe you can just do random things and just see what happens. And then once you notice something that works, okay, let me do a little bit more of that. That didn't work at all. This worked a little bit. Let me try that. This worked a lot. Let me do a little bit more of that. Maybe you can do things that way. And there are times in my own life where I've done that. I've done a whole bunch of random actions and just noticed what worked and what didn't work. And because I've done that, now I can go to people and say, well, here's the strategy that will actually work if you're trying to achieve outcome A, B, C, X, Y, Z, because I know all the stuff that doesn't work. I know all the processes that do not get the outcomes. I know all the things that people think are going to work but don't actually work because I've tried them myself. And because I've gone through that process of trial and error and invested my time, energy, attention into those things, now I can save other people from having to do the same thing. As the saying goes, you don't have the time to make all the mistakes that other people have made. So just learn from them so that you don't have to make the mistakes. You can just go straight to doing the thing that does work. But again, this requires the humility for a person to say to themselves, hey, I don't know everything I need to know in this space. Who does know something that I can learn from? Who can I learn from that knows what I don't know? But you have to, again, be humble enough to admit this to yourself in order for you to even access this information. So that's what strategies do. They factor in contingencies of things not going exactly as you expected, and they cut down on the random actions and the random action and hope strategy, or process. Let's call it a process that people usually use. The problem with doing things randomly, and even if you do get a desired outcome in that process, is that that's not duplicatable and it's not predictable. So if you do things randomly and you end up getting a desired outcome, you shouldn't just do things randomly every time thinking that you're going to get a desired outcome every time. All right, that is probably not going to happen the same way the next 2, 3, or 37 times you try to do random things. You got lucky that one time, you're not going to keep getting lucky. This is why most people never achieve success, despite the fact that they have a bunch of useful, possibly success-creating ideas. See, you listening right now may have a great idea that would really help you in your progress, but because you have no strategy to make that idea happen and you have no way to fit it into the framework of what you're already doing, you're not going to get any, you're not going to see any return on investment from that idea, even though it's a good idea. If you have an idea to start a business, until you get an actual strategy for making that business come to fruition and actually exist, the idea won't happen. See, a bunch of people get stuck in the idea stage, finding out that they cannot actually execute because they don't have a strategy. Then they end up doing nothing. So someone has an idea, I'm going to do these 3 things, but there's no strategy for actually doing those 3 things. People usually end up just doing nothing at all because they don't know where to begin. I hear from people all the time, and there are some listeners listening to me right now who are in this stage of, I have an idea, maybe more than one, but I don't know where to begin. I don't know where to start. If you ever found yourself saying that, I don't know where to begin, it is because you do not have a strategy. If you have a strategy, you always know where to begin. If you don't know where to begin, it's because you don't have a strategy. And again, you don't have to figure out a strategy on your own. And what happens with people who don't have a strategy and then foolishly appoint themselves to figure out a strategy when they don't know even how to do it, what happens is they end up doing nothing. The next year they had the exact same ideas they had the year before, or a new set of ideas that will also, just like the previous year's ideas, never get executed on. And this is the tragedy of mediocrity, or the tragedy of failure that happens in people's lives. They never actually get around to doing the thing, even though they had the right ideas. Number 3, today's topic, once again, is an idea, is not a strategy. Number 3, the best way to get a strategy is to plug into someone's process who has already proven to know how to achieve an outcome and can help you do the same thing. That's the best way to work with strategy. That's the best way to achieve an outcome, rather. Who already knows how to create an outcome in this space? How can I learn from this person and see what they're doing, and let me just follow what they do? When I created my first products, it was basketball training programs for the athletes who were watching me on my basketball videos on YouTube back in the day. And the way I got the idea for the product was that somebody who was watching my videos, a basketball player, said, Dre, why don't you just write down what you do so that other players can train the way that you train? Because other players noticed that I had game. They wanted to learn how they could have game the exact same way. And this person asked a very good question. He said, all right, instead of me trying to figure out how to train on my own, this person watching me on YouTube said, Dre, why don't I just train the way that you train? Now, in order for me to do that, I need you to articulate the way that you train. I need you to document how you train so I can follow the same thing you do. I said, okay, if I do that, that's worth money. I'm going to charge for it. Will you pay for it? They said, yes, we'll pay for it. And there was my business. My business was born from that conversation. But the players were asking good questions. They wanted to do the thing that I was already doing. They asked a really good question. You are already achieving this outcome. I want to achieve that outcome. Instead of me trying to figure it out on my own, why don't you just give it to me? I'll pay you for it. There's a fair exchange and everybody wins. And that's exactly what happened. That's how I got started in business. The slowest way to achieve an outcome is do everything by yourself. The reason this is the slowest way is because you don't know how to do everything, which means there will be a lot of trial and error in the process. And many people have been conditioned to believe that going through a whole bunch of trial and error is something that you absolutely have to do. This is incorrect. There was someone who was texting me the other day, and they were telling me that they got into some business program, or they're trying to build a business, and I was asking them what did they do up to this point, and they said, well, I bought some courses from some people who I follow on Instagram and YouTube, and I didn't really get the outcomes that I wanted. And I was asking them, tell me, who are the people who you got these courses from? And they mentioned a couple people who I had never heard of, but I see that these are actual people they bought courses from. And then the person followed up to their response and said, well, yeah, I didn't really get the outcomes that I wanted. I got a little bit of outcome, but not really. I guess I got to go through a whole bunch of trial and error, LOL. And I said to them, no, that's not the way it's supposed to work. Now, the only time you should be going through trial and error, folks, is if you're doing things by yourself. Meaning you try something to see if it works, yes, no, then try something else. Yes, no, try something else, yes, no. And just keep doing that back and forth. But if you get with someone who is alleging and purporting and presenting themselves as knowing how to get a specific outcome, there shouldn't be any trial and error. All you got to do is follow what they say. If I sign up for your program and you say your program is going to help me do this, then there's no trial and error. All I got to do is follow what your program said. And your program doesn't do what you said do, give my money back. And if you can't help me get an outcome, don't sell that outcome. And so I was telling this person this. I haven't seen if they responded back to me. Once I said that to them, I said, no, you get into somebody's program, whether they're coaching you, they have a course, a mastermind, whatever it is. If they say, I help you achieve this outcome, then they should help you achieve that outcome, even if it means they need to get hands-on with you and help you. But there shouldn't be any trial and error. Trial and error is only when you're left to your own devices. I told you a few episodes ago how poverty loves indecision and slowness. Well, one thing that drives indecision is the fact that you don't have the information. The reason you move slowly and indecisively is because you simply don't know what you're doing. If you are working with someone who is allegedly an expert at what they do, your indecision should be gone. There should be no reason for you to move slow. All you got to do is whatever that person says, and there you go. Be coachable. The good news is there are people out there who do know what they are doing and will gladly help you, but you must first humble yourself enough to know that you cannot and should not be in charge of a process in which you are an amateur. If you don't know what you're doing, it's okay. Get with someone who does. How many times have I said that just already in today's episode? And listen, I'm not here preaching to you from the pulpit. I get into other people's programs. I go to other people's conferences. I join masterminds. I join coaching programs. I invest. I put my money down into programs and courses and knowledge and expertise from people who know things that I don't know, so I can take what I'm doing to a higher level. So I'm not just here telling you to do it and I'm not doing it myself. I do the exact same thing. Why? This is the fastest way to achieve outcomes. Now, I think I'm a pretty smart person. I'm a hard-working person. I have resources. I could do everything on my own and just go through all the trial and error until I figure it out. The problem is it would take too long. Here's the problem with things taking too long, folks, is that you ain't got forever. You are on the clock, meaning every day you're getting a day closer to dying. That's just a fact. I know people don't like to talk about that and don't say it out loud. Well, am I lying? Am I wrong? Everybody who's listening to me is a day closer to dying today than you were yesterday. So the longer it takes you to achieve your desired outcomes, the lower the chances that you actually will achieve them because you're closer to dying. Who says you're going to make it another 6 months to keep trying trial and error? So what if you could achieve your outcome in 1 month and you have at least 5 months to enjoy it? I mean, let's be honest here. We could take months out and make it years. Whatever you want it, whatever denomination you want to give it, nobody here knows exactly how much time they have left. So when you tell yourself, I'm gonna just take time and figure things out, you ain't got time. That's the point. You got to be humble enough to know that first of all, you don't know how much time you have, and second of all, since you don't know everything and you don't know how much time you have, you shouldn't be playing around with your time trying to figure things out. That doesn't make any sense. That's I talked about, are you working? Episode I just talked about, are you working smart or working stupid? That was episode number 2444. Are you working stupid or are you working smart? All right, just about a month or so ago. Check yourself on it. All that said, let's recap today's class. An idea is not a strategy. Sent the text out asking people if they plan on making more money. Everybody said yes. I said, what's your strategy? Most people did not have one. They think they have one, but they don't. An idea is a thought or suggestion. Point number one. Idea is a thought or suggestion as to a possible course of action. But a lot of people had a bunch of ideas. They had no strategy. Number two, a strategy is a plan of action or policy designed to achieve a major overall aim. A strategy is a set of things that will be done and done sequentially to achieve an outcome. And you don't want to be doing things randomly, because you ain't got time to keep doing things randomly. You will run out of time or talent before you get to your outcome. Number three, the best way to get a strategy is to plug into someone's process who already knows how to achieve a specific outcome. All you had to do is exchange your resources, usually in the form of money, for their insights, process, and information, which will help you achieve your outcome a lot faster. We call that buying time. Time is your most valuable resource. It's more valuable than money. You should leverage your money to buy time and achieve outcomes faster. That's what all the smart people and people at the highest levels are doing. If you don't believe me, look around and see for yourself. All that said, text me, get the daily motivation. Also, I want you to tell me the best insight you got from today's class. My number is 305-384-6894, and workonyourgameuniversity.com. You want to work with someone who understands how to create a strategy, break things down, and deconstruct and working backwards as we create that roadmap for your outcomes. Go to workonyourgameuniversity.com, sign up for a call with me, or get into the courses right now at workonyourgameuniversity.com. Work on your game. Dre all day.